Well, for a lot of people, if they were to see the Santa Clara, they go, where's the river? So it's just a little stream, but it's called the Santa Clara River. And we've, thought where there's a fall in the Santa Clara River. We've looked a little bit into ram pumps. If a simple ram pump could be installed, and then that would bring the water up and out a ways to make it easier to collect in order to filter and for our uses. So, we've researched and looked around where we're at. Now we realize that everywhere we're not, it's not the same way everywhere. Up in the Cache Valley where we have family, their surface water is so close, or their groundwater is so high that they can dig a 4-foot hole, fill it with sand, put a barrel in it and a pump, and they have water, and it won't run out. So please just think of your circumstance as you're listening to things. Look around you and see, maybe do some research. Ask your water company, hey, how much water is in the tank and in the lines? How much, so that give us a little time to adapt to a situation. That's the important part, is because everything's unique. Tina is gonna just quickly talk. What about the water barrels? Oh, okay, 4 water barrels, and you can find this also on the Stand Independent website. Food grade barrels, and the recommended. We just came up with our own formula for our family for drinking water. 1 55-gallon drum per family member per day as an emergency thing. And we found out really quick when we were renting in a place that had a well, that once the well went out, if you're going to use that water to flush toilets and anything else, it goes really fast. And you use a lot of water. So that's just for just maybe a couple, 3-4 days, is what we would recommend as an emergency thing as you're looking around and adapting. And there's different ways to hook up water barrels so that you can keep your water circulating through it. They're all online. If you look up online, you can see every sort of makeup to put water barrels in line in your water system, so your water is constantly fresh in the barrels. So we encourage you to look into that as well for temporary emergency use.
And then once that runs out and you need to get water temporarily, this is there's several purification methods out there that is up on the site. So we're not going to take very much time, but just to go over a couple of them. One that people talk about is iodine. You can use iodine tablets. There's a lot of health issues that you can have from iodine tablets, and also they don't taste very good. You can boil your water, but to purify it, you're going to have to boil for 10 to 20 minutes, and it's not going to taste good at the end. And you're also going to be using a lot of your fuel if you're boiling water. A big one that I didn't know about that we learned a few years ago was a lot of people are using bleach to purify water. And that's not, I found out that's really not a good idea, because our household bleach doesn't contain pure chlorine. It has detergents and other bad chemicals in it that'll cause really bad effects on our body, including bleeding ulcers. If you've stored water in bleach bottles, don't throw it away, because you can use that for cleaning and laundry and other things, but you definitely don't want to drink that water. The one source that we did find that people might be interested in is pure chlorine, and you can get that at a pool supply place. It's 90.
That's like 99.6% pure chlorine.
And you can put that in your barrels. Now, the initial water, you won't have to use it. You won't have to use the purification. but afterwards, and you need to purify it, you can put it in. And there's more information on that and how much and how to use the kit to test for chlorine after you've put the chlorine in and how much and all that information on the site. So we're not going to go into that because we want to go into more detailed with the others.
Yeah. And so that's basically what we wanted to present as something. Again, we're not promoting this as the method to do things. This is just something that we've decided as our family and our unique situation that we're going to kind of follow this. But we invite everybody to look around, given their own situation, and do things according to that. But what we'd like to do, hopefully to also spur curiosity to look further into things, we'd like to turn time over now to Taylor Child and then Evan Bennett. They have some wonderful things to present, just examples of things that they have studied and come up with as far as water purification and water sources.
All right, with that intro, let's see if I can share my screen, because a Zoom meeting is not a Zoom meeting without a PowerPoint, right? That's it's not showing. Where's the button? I'm sorry, after this long, I should be better at using Zoom, but I'm just not there. All right, can you see the thing on my screen?
Yes.
Let's go surfing.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about water. So
What?
I just came to grab some clothes.
Oh, okay. I'll bet those puppies are glad to see you. I think they get tired of me.
I also, my mom wanted me to tell you we're having dinner at 7:45, and you can come.
I just drink my dinner.
Oh, well, that's
who have we got? That's
Italian chicken.
Okay, someone there needs to mute
I had
their microphone, please, so Taylor can move forward.
I'll be downstairs.
all right. Okay. So water. I've got just an opening thought. This is kind of the why for why I looked into this in the first place. Water storage gets to be really unwieldy, really, really fast. You know, if you go with a lot of the popular recommendations are 1 gallon per person per day. If a gallon weighs 8 1/3 pounds, you're looking at serious amounts of water. You know, I've got a family of 5. And if I wanted to store 10 days worth of water, that's 417 pounds according to my calculator. And that might be great if it's just going to be 10 days here, but good luck moving it. It's not going anywhere. So, and this is not a commercial for not doing water storage. By all means, store, because, you know, I'm an all of the above kind of problem solver. This is the result of my search into finding a purification solution. This is essentially a water treatment plant that fits inside of a small suitcase. It hooks up to any 12-volt powered DC powered supply. So something like a car battery works. When I tested mine, I hooked it up to my truck, worked great. It's roughly a large briefcase size. It's 26 pounds, and it will produce 1 gallon per minute. So this is not a big. This is not a big production source. This is something that can tide you over for a while. The magic of this thing to me, though, was all the replaceable components. So filters, all of the filtration components, the UV lamp, those can all be switched out and replaced when they've run their useful life, so you can keep using it. So here's what it looks like opened up. It has a 4-stage filtration process. The yellow end of the hose is what you drop into your stream or your lake or your river or whatever your natural water, your raw water source is, your bucket, whatever you're going to be cleaning. It then comes up to this first stage filter. I don't know if you can see my where my mouse is moving, but oh, I shouldn't have Okay, there we go. Comes up to this first one. This is a 5-micron filter. So this will filter away things like sand, dirt. Really, the main purpose of this is to extend the life of your charcoal filter, which is over here. And within this unit is also a UV lamp that will kill any bacteria, viruses, microorganisms, and so forth. So out the other end comes, this blue hose end comes roughly a gallon per minute of clean, drinkable water that you can use. So that's just the text version of my explanation, but I figure a picture's 1,000 words. When I was talking this through with a couple of other people, they suggested that I emphasize what this is not. This is not suitable for salt water. You need that's a lot more energy intensive process to remove salt from water. It's not suitable for chemical contamination. It won't remove fluoride. It won't remove chlorine. So I wouldn't set this up next to an oil refinery. And this is not suitable for wastewater or sewage treatment. So not downstream from your outhouse. Okay. This is for water that you would be more or less comfortable having exposure to anyway. It's just not quite ready to drink. It's, the lake, the river, the stream that you want to render drinkable. Like any water that you're dealing with in a preparation context, taste is going to be a challenge because it's going to taste like a clean version of whatever it is that you're cleaning. They say there's no accounting for taste. Most people that I know don't even like their tap water. I guess I live in the Salt Lake Valley where the tap water tastes like a swimming pool. Drink mixes are something worth including if that's a challenge for you, if it would be hard for you to say this is what's going to keep me alive for a while. There's something you might consider. And then the other question that came up in one of my discussions is, can you scale this thing up? And the answer is yes. The same company makes a much larger unit, and I've got the picture of it here on the screen. It'll produce a lot more water. It runs on a Honda gas generator, but instead of being 26 pounds in a suitcase, it's 547 pounds. So it's a lot more serious of an undertaking to move one of those things. But as I said kind of at the outset, like one of my motivations for looking into this in the first place was, what if I need to take the family, gather what I can gather in the next hour, and pack it in the truck and get going? Well, a solution for cleaning water would be high on the priority list because you're not going to make it very long without water. These are a couple of resources. NOAA Water is the company that makes these things. Ready-Made Resources is one of their distributors. You can buy from either one. Sometimes one's doing a special that the other one's not. So the price will be varying depending on which one you go to and when. Sometimes they'll throw in, one of them will do a special where they throw in an extra set of all the filters, an extra UV lamp, all the extra elements that you need, because 3 is 2 and 2 is 1 and 1 is none, as we're all fond of saying in the preparation world. So that is my water filtration system. Any questions I might answer for you while we're here?
Do you remember how much the smaller unit cost, just roughly?
Yeah. It runs about $1,500 right now. 2 years ago when I bought it, it was less. And I know if you can get a group purchase, they'll sometimes do volume discounts if you can meet some minimum threshold, but around $1,500 is what I'd budget for it. The larger units, like the price of a car, it's like 19,000 or something.
I had a question from someone in the chat. How long does it last, Taylor?
So that all depends on what you're filtering. The UV lamp is good for 9,200 hours. And that's one that you'll just kind of have to know, because the only way you would know that that's not working anymore, unless it burns out, You would know it's not working anymore if you start getting sick from the water. So that would be bad. So you do want to kind of keep track of how many hours you've run your machine. If you're filtering, sediment laden water, that's going to gum up your filters a lot faster than if you're filtering water that's basically clear from a mountain stream. But these filters are self-clogging is the term they use for them. So once your flow rate slows down from it, that's one of the ways you'll know it's time to change your filters out. So it really just depends on what you're filtering.
Ready, set. Oh, not muted.
Okay, any others?
Taylor,
Yeah.
I'm interested in knowing how many different systems you looked at before you landed on this one, and why you chose this one over the others that you laid it against.
So the big selling points for this one, I've lost track of how many different things that I looked at, but most of this was the only one that was kind of all in one. That was a big selling point for me. It's drop the hose in one side of the, in the dirty water and put the other hose in your clean water and you're ready to go. And the other thing that was really attractive to me is that this is small, portable. I can drop it in the back of my truck really quickly and easily. So I looked at several others, but they get the anti-selling points on those ones for me were size, cost, and just general capability. A lot of them were like the bigger brother that this company has it's 500 pounds for something that does essentially the same thing, just in a scaled up nature. So I looked at as many as I could, but it's been a little over 2 years, so my memory is not perfectly clear on that anymore.
And do we understand correctly the power source, or what power sources can be used to operate the unit?
Yeah, anything that'll put out 12 volts of DC. So that's a car battery. There's a lot of solar products that will put this out. There's an adapter where you can plug it into the car power outlet on the inside of the car if you wanted to, or basically anything that will do that. So there's a wide variety. My brother and I have both tested our units. He has one as well, and we tested it on the car. We tested it on his solar thing. Both worked great.
I don't know if you can see the question.
I don't have a chat box in front of me. Let me see if I can.
Does it filter virus?
Yeah, the UV light will filter virus. So long as your UV light is working, is the real question.
No COVID.
Indeed.
Well, thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, my pleasure.
That was great. Now let's hear from Evan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Evan, hailing from Sandpoint, Idaho. And I think much of what I'm going to discuss dovetails nicely with what Taylor mentioned. So I put together several options, and my thought process was what happens when a person is moving from one place to another and they have power requirements as opposed to being stationary. So the first thing that I was going to discuss is a device called the Life Straw. This is it here. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. This end goes into the water, and this end you suck the water out of the location that you're using the water for. This has a lot of advantages, a lot of pros. For example, it's lightweight, less than 2 ounces. There are no power requirements. It filters 99% of bacteria and parasites, including Giardia and Cryptosporidium, microplastics, dirt, sand. The question that came up with Taylor as far as viruses, I would imagine it does not filter viruses, but I'd have to research that more. The other benefit of this is it's unlimited shelf life. It filters up to 1,000 gallons of water, which, according to the website, is enough drinking water to last an individual for 5 years. And it's very quiet. So if somebody's moving from one place to another and they're needing to move quickly, you know, they could fill, if they find a water source, they could fill a bottle and then keep moving. And when it's safe or whenever the time is available, they could use the life straw through that canister. I actually have one in every car when I travel, because I travel for work. I have one in my backpack. You just never know. The cons are it's small and it can get misplaced, and it may be it could be limited to one individual. The other system that I was going to show you is was recommended by the Hughes and the Eastleys because they do a lot of camping, and they highly recommended this system. And it's actually called the Platypus. Let me grab it real quick.
No relation to me.
So it's kind of hard to see with the camera the way it is, but this is the Platypus. So there's dirty water that goes in this one, and the clean water comes out this way. It's gravity fed, and it comes through these tubes and through a filter. You hold one up higher than the other, and the water is filtered. The beauty of this is you can reverse the bag's locations, and the water that's in the clean can push through the filter and clean it out. It's also lightweight. It has a higher capacity of water filtration. It filters up to 1.75 liters a minute without pumping. There are no power requirements. It's an excellent option for groups of people. You know, in camping settings, it's perfect. It also has an unlimited shelf life. It has a 8 to 12 liter capacity. Gravity fed, so no pumping needed. Weighs 11.5 ounces without water, of course. And does not take up a lot of space when folded up. And again, to clean it, you just reverse the bag placement, and the reverse flow will clean the filter out. And the other advantage is it's quiet. Now, on the website, when I looked up the cons, it can expose you to styrene, which is known to in the state of California to cause cancer. And it may not be the best option for quick on-demand needs. Okay, so the next option that we talked about in the group meetings was a do-it-yourself water well kit. This is available on Amazon. The last I bought I bought one for $4.99. And this, I don't know if I can screen share this or not. Let's see here. Probably not. Okay, never mind. I can send this information. I think John may have a copy of this, but it is a fairly mobile system. It's PVC with an auger, a hand pump, a well screen, and a cap. It can be a semi-permanent water source if location is secure, and it is fairly mobile. You know, we have a property of about 20 acres, and my wife is a big gardener. We have an orchard that's located pretty far away from the house, so we were looking for a way to bring water to that location. And the well pump works really well. It goes down to 40 feet, I believe. It's 37 pounds, so that is kind of a con in a way. The auger may not be able to handle rocky soil, and the pipes are PVC, which they can break or get brittle with age. But it's an excellent option if you're stationary for a while and you've got and you want to install the pump in the ground right there for you.
Do you want us to try and share our screen, Evan?
Sure. I mean, if you can.
Let's see, this one. Okay, share. Did that come up?
Yep, that's it. So this was $4.99 on Amazon at the time that I bought it. When I pulled it up today, there was no price located. Under see all buying options, you could potentially find someone who's selling it. But it's a nice little system. And let's see, so moving on, and incidentally, the Life Straw on Amazon right now it's $17.47, and the Platypus is about $119.95 for the 4-liter option. They have 2 options, 4 and 6 liters.
Yeah.
Let's see, and then the last thing that I was going to discuss is not necessarily filtration, but it's actually locating water. There's an ancient system called water dowsing, where you use 2 metal rods and you hold them loosely in your hands. As an example, these are the 2 that I have. So I hold them parallel to each other across the ground, and my fists are holding them loosely. And then as you walk across the land, they will cross when you find an actual water source. Now there's a lot of controversy on whether or not these work. I had a property prior to this one where it was built in 1913 as a dairy farm. We were trying to locate the water pipes because we thought there was one had burst over the winter. We had no way of knowing where all the water was located, but I used the rods and was able to find them. So it was pretty amazing. And if you look at it online, there's a lot of stories about it didn't work, and there's stories that it did work. But for us, it worked, and it was really great. Let's see. So the pros to the water dowsing is it's free. There's lots of videos online to demonstrate the techniques. This dates back to the 15th or 16th century, maybe even earlier. And I've used it and it worked. And you can use anything from metal clothes hangers to copper tubing and other metal rods. The cons is carrying the rods around can be cumbersome. The depth of the water that you find is uncertain. And ultimately, there's a lot of different methods, and feel free to research what works best for you. And that's pretty much it for me. Are there any questions?
Evan, the shallow well system that you showed, how deep will it go? How close to the surface does water need to be before you can access it with that system?
So it's best for in shallow settings. I believe it goes down to 40 feet. And you just keep adding the PVC pipes as you go with the auger. If you were using this system, you would definitely have to have a water filtration option because you're not going to get down into artesian water. You would have to pull the water out of the ground if you're trying to drink it and filter it from there.
And it is an auger screw type system to go down into the ground versus pounding down through?
Correct.
And you said that you and Karen were able to find water supplies with that or not?
With the copper rods, we were. So we had to walk all around the property and find where the pipes were.
Right. So you didn't sink down with the PVC pipe system to get to the water supply?
No, not for that situation. And that's it for me.
Well, thank you, Evan. John and Tina, do you want to wrap it up? Or do you have more to add?
Mute, okay. I'm, if it would be possible, Taylor and Evan, would you mind just sending those on our email to us, just your links and stuff, so we can put those, go ahead and put those in the water section on the Stand Independent website, please?
Yeah, certainly.
Resources, if that's okay. And thank you guys for your presentation.
We forgot to ask if anybody had questions for us.
I do. I was wondering if, I mean, we've used the Berkey, and we have like in Clearfield or Davis County, they have fluoride in the water. And my kids that are married, they didn't want to have fluoride in the water, so they've been using the Berkey, and they really love it because you just pour the water in the top and it filters down through to the bottom where you have your reservoir of clean water. So did anybody really research that? I mean, what did anybody find anything that they didn't like about the Berkey? Because we've really loved ours.
I don't know anything.
We don't know anything about the Berkey or we actually don't know about any filtration systems at all. So I mean, that's what we were going to do, is just say, if there's anybody who would like to comment about their experience. So if you want to keep commenting, Melody, we are thrilled to turn it over to you.
Well, Terry probably knows more than me for sure, but the thing that's nice about the Berkey is it has these cylinders that when the water goes through, you know, eventually the minerals will build up on it, and you can just take those cylinders and scrub them off and then keep using them. So, I mean, it's wonderful because you just pour your water in the top, it goes through and filters and just ends up in the bottom. And so you've got your water there whenever you want it. And so anyway, I don't know, there's probably others that have comments on it.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish. I have quite a bit I wanted to share. So go ahead and finish.
Oh, okay. The Berkey started out with a stainless steel 2-compartment unit. The upper portion has the filters in it so that the filters do not stand in the filtered water. So the filters stand up in the tube or in the cylinder, and then it filters through the side of it and drops down. They come in a variety of sizes. Each filter will do 3,000 gallons. And so some of the units can handle 8 cylinders. You can start out with 4, 6, 8. Just depends on how large a group you need to feed, keep water flowing for. And then to fill it, you just take the top off and pour water in. Now, its disadvantage in being stainless steel is you can't see the water level. And so they come up with what they call a Berkey Light that has a plastic type cylinder, both top and bottom, that allows you to see the water level. And that's what we bought for all of our kids. And again, it has a number of cylinders and filters that you can take it apart, then you unscrew the cylinder and you rub it down with a Scotch-Brite to clean it up, screw it back in, and you're good for another 3,000 gallons. Some of the filters have impregnated with silver to help kill bacteria, disease, and all that sort of stuff. So there's a couple of different filters you can get with it, but it's been kind of a standard for preppers for many years, I believe. And it's a gravity fed, so it just sits on the counter.
No work.
That's all.
This may be a very naive question, but several of these systems, Taylor was saying that the system that he's putting forth will filter lake, stream, pond water, that type of thing. Can something like the Berkey filter not just all ready to drink water, but dirtier sources of water?
Yes, very much so. But if you want it to service you a little faster and a little more last longer, then some kind of a pre-filter for pond water or something that is really pretty slimy, then I'd get a sand bucket and some rocks and try to screen the big chunks out first. But yes, a Berkey will handle the worst kind of water you can possibly put in there, and it'll work just fine.
So Terry, you just proposed a kind of a or a preliminary filtering. Would you talk about that a little bit?
If I was going to a pond that had a film or scum on the top of it, I would like to get rid of the big chunks and just get down to as much pure water as I can. Typically, what you can do with that is take two buckets, one bucket with that you'll put on top of the other. Having a lid in between the two of them works fine, but then you drill holes that line up so the water can pass from one bucket to the other. Then lay down a little bit of a screen mesh like screen door screen, and just put that on the bottom, and then you put some rocks, and then you put some sand, and you just build it up so it goes through at least 6 inches of sand or so. If you want to really get good with it, then you could put some charcoal in between layers of sand, and the charcoal will filter out a lot of really good stuff. And then what you end up in your top bucket is something you can skim off, throw it away, and put a little more sand in and go again to try to filter. And so the bottom bucket then becomes your source to pour in the Berkey, and your Berkey will work much longer, much better over time.
Amy and Vaughn both had comments. Amy Kincaid and Vaughn Hughes.
So one of the things that I think people are overlooking is that there's salt water that is basically ions, and ions cannot be filtered. Ions need to come out one of two ways, either through distillation or through reverse osmosis. And with distillation, you're also cleaning the water through sterilization with the heat. Reverse osmosis can remove the salts and the water. However, you're still going to have viruses that are going to be able to get through. So having that UV light to sterilize the water once it's been purified. But I live in the Bay Area, so we're surrounded by water that's salty, so water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. So we've had to find different solutions that will accommodate the water that we have access to and provide it to us in a way that we can actually use it rather than just having all of this salty water. So that was just my comment.
Thank you.
Reed Larson has his hand raised.
I think Vaughn was next.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, just real quick, I'd love to comment on the platypus system that Evan mentioned. Once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away, where I had to supply and work with scouts in a troop, when we had 20 people or so on trails out in the middle of nowhere, we found the system was very effective and worked really without any trouble. We could easily have somebody go down to the water, find the clearest area of water, scoop up a bag, bring it, hang it on a tree. You can just hang it on a tree limb, and then hang the lower bag where the clean water goes into it, and it very quickly would filter it. So we'd be able to see, because they're clear bags, we'd be able to see whether the water we scooped up was reasonably good, or we could dump it out and grab it from a different spot in that water source that might be a little bit cleaner. found that the cleaning that Evan was talking about, where you reverse it, it's literally switch which bag is above the other for a few seconds. That is very effective, very quick. And we found that we could keep going and quickly fill up everybody's water bottles within a few minutes, because that's how you typically use it. You don't just store it in the clean bag. You empty it out into other containers, and then you can just keep going and going. So we found that very effective. We have our own system that we keep with our own emergency supplies or for backpacking.
Reed, you had a comment? Thank you, Vaughn.
Yeah, so we had for many years a cabin, and prior to that we had a houseboat, and we currently live in a well. So I've had decades of experience with dealing with water issues. Really, to have a long, steady, good quality supply of drinking water, and we're not talking about necessarily emergency, although what I'm about to propose will work for emergency situations. A more of a long-term view of it, like I'd like to live more than just a month or two, maybe I'd like to live 10 years, kind of a view of it, might give you a little bit different take on it. So what I was going to point out is you really only need 4 things. Okay, so we've already talked about a UV light that will kill, and UVC is the particular type of, you can't go like take a black light bulb and stick it in something and make it work. It's got to be a UVC frequency to kill the viruses and other bad things in there. You need to have some sort of a sediment filter. We've talked about sand, we've talked about other things from large to small, but there has to be a sediment filter to get out all of the stuff that will clog up your sensitive filters. And then you need to have the sensitive filters. That's your charcoal and your 5 micron or 10 micron wound string filter, or some other type of filtration that you're using, or your reverse osmosis system, which either one of those that you would use. The only other thing that you really need is water pressure. And there's a lot of ways to get water pressure. We've talked about, hanging water from one bag to another, or putting in a tank up on the hill, or things like that. But for more of a long-term convenient type of a solution, you might consider this. I'll tell you how much it is here on Amazon. It's $238. You can get a reverse osmosis system with full filtration, multi-stage filtration, and UV. That knocks out 2 of your 4 issues right there. And that will do 100 gallons per day in terms of the throughput. And it's the kind of thing you could bolt under your sink, or you could put it into a trailer or some other mobile thing if you wanted to take it up in the woods with you or whatever. It's not very big. It sits nicely on the countertop. So if you were to get for $200 or $300 a reverse osmosis system with UV light, then you only need 2 other things. One is a source of power. And if you do want a pre-filter or a sediment filter of some kind, then you can just add one in line. I mean, they're not expensive. They're like $50. You can get a really nice sediment filter for not a lot of money. And all it takes is just a little PVC pipe to connect it to the next thing in line, which would be your RO filter. So the only other thing you need is water pressure and a source of electricity to run the UV lamp. Well, you can do that very easily with either solar panel, car battery, the other things that we've talked about, to run a pump. Now, for about $60, you can get an RV pump that'll go to 60 PSI and pump, or even 45 PSI if you'd want to spend a little less money, but either way, it'll do 3 gallons a minute. I mean, it'll do enough for you to wash your dishes and do everything you want to do. So I don't think we need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars here. If you wanted to build a system that was completely portable, all you would need is some sort of solar panel, solar power, and a battery. to run it, power your UV light and your RV pump. And those of you that have RVs, you know, those RV pumps are relatively quiet. They're very compact. They don't take up a lot of power. And that system would last years and years. You could get extra filters to be able to swap them out. And you're still not talking, I mean, you're not even up to $1,000, even with a really nice solar system in there. So I just thought I'd point out that there's a lot of opportunity here for DIY, do it yourself. A lot of opportunity for, just looking at what's commercially available right now and maybe thinking about how can I just take 2 or 3 or 4 components, put them together and have that available in a self-contained situation that you can just take with you wherever you are. Somebody's asking if I'll post a link to that. Of course, I'll be happy to post a link to the one that I was looking at, but there are dozens of these. I'll just put it in the text. There's one. And then, of course, the RV pump.
Actually, we were hoping if we could just put our email out there, jtsaunders6@gmail. Anybody who would like to send us information on anything about water, we'd love to review it with the whole Stand Independent group and put all of that on the website. Would that be okay, you guys, to do that? Because it'd be very beneficial for everybody to be able to look at different things.
A lot of different options and a lot of stuff commercially available. UV light, just a light by itself is available. You can get them in all different sizes and so forth. I don't think we necessarily need to go to the very expensive prepper websites to buy very expensive stuff that's really just off the shelf filtration.
So Reed,
just ideas.
Does the reverse osmosis system that you were making reference to on Amazon, does that have a name?
One that I'm looking at is an express water UV reverse osmosis water filtration system. And they, by the way, posted the testing performance for removal of pharmaceuticals, semi-volatiles, volatile organic compounds, metals, fluoride, chemicals, and nitrates. It removes all of it. So, I mean, everybody pretty much can do your own research and your mileage may vary, but reverse osmosis is usually the cleanest, the best way, to take care of just about any type of water issue that you may face. And if you're in an emergency situation, we just don't know what water situation we're going to face. So be prepared for anything. RO is I think, a good option to at least consider.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you, Reed. Don Danner wants to know about collecting rainwater. There's a community in New Mexico that all the homes get the lion's share of their water from rainwater. So I've heard Denver mention that as an important source for water in the community we're anticipating in the near future. That community in New Mexico is in a desert that gets about 8 inches a year, and yet they manage to use that water to wash their hands and use their shower, and then it's filtered and feeds their garden, and then from there it's filtered again and flushes their toilets, and from there that black water goes out to water their outside garden. Any other questions or comments?
Alan, did you have something that you wanted to comment on?
Well, I think I could probably add some. I kayaked the Grand Canyon one time. It took me 3 weeks and I survived and lived to tell about it. And as anybody knows, the Grand Canyon, the Colorado River, it's very, very sediment. It's got a lot of sediment in it. There's a very cheap powder substance called alum. If you get a 5-gallon bucket and put a couple of tablespoons of alum in it, you'd be surprised how clean that water gets real fast. So if you want to, we had something called a Katahdin filter. There's a pocket filter that I've used for backpacking. And then there's an expedition filter. The expedition filter, probably 25 years ago, cost me $1,000. So I'm sure that it's a little pricier now. Katahdin filters, by the way, are the military go-to things. They're a pump thing and they're great. So what we would do is we would pull over to a beach in the Grand Canyon and would put a bucket out and would put some alum in it and would clean the water that way. And then we would pump it with the Katahdin filter, and we had great water. Now, in order to get the chemicals out and to get salt out and that sort of a thing, obviously you're going to need the reverse osmosis that Amy was talking about. Obviously these filters will not filter chemicals out, nor salt water or that sort of a thing. Have to use it on fresh water. But alum is cheap, and if you have really sediment laden water like you'd find in the Colorado River, that's the quickest, best way to clean it up. And then pump it and filter it, and it does good. The paper filters, the platypus filter is effectively a paper filter. And I would agree that one of those would last a scouting group for Vaughn. It probably wouldn't last for a 50-mile hike. I've taken a bunch of kids hiking along the John Muir Trail along the High Sierra, from Sequoia National Park from Kings Canyon to Sequoia National Park to the top of Mount Whitney and stuff. And one of those filters are not going to last that long because they are paper filters. If you're going to get a filter, though, you really need to get a ceramic, and the best ones are the ones that have the colloidal silver in them, and because silver is very expensive, those filters are going to be very expensive. But those ceramic filters last quite a while, and they're quite reliable. And then if you're sea kayaking out in the sea, you have to have a reverse osmosis thing. So there you are.
Thank
The
you.
best way is to get water straight from a spring that doesn't have cattle grazing around it, and usually that's the best water. Or if you're at high altitude, the UV is so strong that all of the viruses are killed because of the high altitude UV. So that works too.
So I'd like
Thank
to
you.
ask Vaughn, how many times can you reverse the bags and reverse the filter on the platypus system?
Good question. Often as you want is the short answer. It's a ceramic filter. And the frequency, how often you need to reverse it in order to flush out anything that's caught up or clogged the filter. That's related to how much sediment or silt is in the water, or how much algae or whatever it is. So if you've got water that you're that you're running through it that's got a lot from like a pond or standing water, then you may have to do it more frequently. But if it's clear water, like you're getting out of a running creek or something, then you may have to do that only very rarely.
That's where that alum comes in really handy. You clean the water with the alum and then put it in that bag, the platypus, the upper bag going down into the lower bag. That makes your filter last a whole lot longer.
So Alan, does the alum, it sounds like the alum works well for visible sediment type particles. Does it,
Yes.
does it also purify? Does it?
No.
No. So it makes the water look better, but
It basically makes your filters last a whole lot longer.
oh, okay.
It basically makes it so that your filters don't gum up, because you could reverse those filters a bunch of times, but after a while, you know, just like any filter, it gums up and you've got to replace it. The Katahdin filters, the MSR filters, I haven't seen the platypus for a while. The ones that I were aware of were paper filters, kind of a paper-based thing. But a lot of those ceramic filters, you could get one of those Scotch-Brite pads and clean off the top. But you know, eventually the ceramic is going to wear down, and you're not going to have much of a filter. The big thing with the alum is to make your filters last a whole lot longer and to make the water drinkable a whole lot faster, because you know the thing is it takes, if you put a bucket of Colorado River swill out and you leave it to set overnight, you know, the sediment will divide up eventually, but it takes an awful long time. The alum just causes it to happen a whole lot faster. And so you're saving your filters, and you're saving a whole lot of effort when you're trying to pump the filter. You have to, when you have sediment on there, it's harder to pump it, so you get less water less quickly. The alum basically helps you with that because it keeps your filter cleaner, and you can pump water faster and you can drink.
Okay, John and Tina, are you done?
We're done. Yeah.
Okay, let me remind you, next month, April 3rd, Denver and Stephanie will be speaking on an Easter theme, and we invite all of you to attend that. Does anyone have anything else? All right. Jeffrey Bowler, would you ask a benediction on this group?
Sure.
Thank you.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for being able to meet tonight, to see each other via technology, to feel each other, to discuss these extremely important issues. We thank Thee for our associations and for Thy Spirit. We ask Thee this time to please bless us and to help us as we go forward, that we can find the best ways to be prepared for water filtration and for the future water filtering, water purification needs that we have. We ask Thee to bless us with Thy Spirit at all times, and we pray for these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
McKay?
Yes.
This is Marv. I had a problem in the house and I just got on. I heard some comments towards the end. Did you guys ever go through drops, treatment drops, you know, liquid for water purification?
Yeah, we did talk about chlorine.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
this is recorded, and it will be posted on the Stand Independent website. So anyone who wants to review it later can do that. But yes, John and Tina did talk about both two types of chlorination.
okay, good. Thank you.
Good job, John and Tina. It's over. You did it.
Actually, there is a product called Aquamira. It's a two-stage thing. A lot of municipal water treatment is being used with the similar chemicals in the Aquamira system. But you put bottle number A, bottle number B, you put it into a mixing bottle, you have it stand for about a half an hour, and then you put drops in it, and it kills viruses and does a pretty good job killing a whole bunch of other things. I know that a lot of municipal water systems are using that very system. They're going away from chlorine because it tastes so nasty, and this stuff doesn't taste that nasty. You could hardly taste it at all. It's still a chemical, and it's probably poisonous if it's too strong, but basically you go to about any backpacking store and they'll have some Aquamira. Have 2 bottles and a mixing bottle.
Yeah, you can.
To me, that's the best chemical treatment that there's out there.
Yeah, it's basically sodium chlorite with a T instead of a D, sodium chlorite. And you can mix it with either hydrochloric acid, and you can buy, you can go and buy 37% hydrochloric acid and then filter it down to 4%. You need to get it down to 4%. And then you put in very few drops with the sodium chlorite, or you can use citric acid, which is another acid to mix with the sodium chlorite. And I mean, if you get an off of Amazon, you can get hydrochloric acid for like $69, and it's like a whole gallon, and it'll last you your lifetime plus. And then you can get the sodium chloride in the flakes, and that's about $40. So $100 will last you if you know how to mix it and use it. You'll never run out. You'll always have enough to do whatever you want. And so you can, if you had a tank like a 50-gallon, 55-gallon tank or so forth, you can fill that up and put that in. And I don't have the measurements, I mean all the mixes on it, but you'd have to look that up. But it's sodium chlorite and mixing it with hydrochloric acid or citric acid, and that's what I think the water treatments are using, hydrochloric acid.
Yum, I just want to drink hydrochloric acid all day long. That and Clorox bleach and anything that's got chlorine in it. So I'm just looking forward to having all of these, what is it, chemicals.
Yeah. Well, the
Aquamira is the way to go. It's if you're doing small time thing.
Yeah. Hydrochloric acid is what's in your stomach. Anyway, the acid's in your stomach. Isn't that what it is, McKay? Yes.
That's true. Okay, well, let's wrap it up. That was great. Appreciate y'all coming in. And next month, Easter, the following month, mistakes in food storage to be avoided. We'll see you all then.